Nevertheless, my name is Jakob Braun. I'm the CEO of Access to Innovation, and I'm happy to see so many of you being part of this A2i Talk here today. As you know, the reason why we are putting in these monthly sessions is there's a dire need throughout our partnerships and throughout the network in getting recent updates and news from all of the partners, and especially also with our strong partnerships in East African being the main area that we're focusing at. As part of this, we've been exploring on a monthly basis, as mentioned, the new trends, new information and so. And now I'm here today, I'm happy to set the focus on the combining aid and trade and exploring synergies, especially within the Ugandan context. And I think some of the most people with insights on this specific topic, especially Ole Dahl Rasmussen from the Danish Embassy, and also CEO John Wakiumu from the A2i Trust and A2i Development. So I'm happy that both of you gentlemen will spend the next about 30 minutes in presenting some of the findings that you've seen from your work. And as we usually do, then we following opening the floor for Q&As. The way we try to do it is if you've got questions that are popping up, please put them in the chat or raise your hand. And based on that, I'll try to navigate our way through the Q&A sessions. So without any further ado, allow me to pass on the screen to Ole Dahl Rasmussen from the Danish Embassy. And Ole, I presume following to that, a short introduction also from John Wakiumu, and then moving on with the presentation. So what over to you?
Yes. Thank you very much, Jakob, and thank you for the invitation to talk. And super happy to see many participants. Of course, always happy to have some Danish businesses on board, but I'm also very glad that we have the food and bio cluster. I've heard much about you, so I've looked forward to meeting you. Just for the introduction, I'm Ole Rasmussen, as Jakob said. I'm the team leader at the Danish Embassy for Team Green Economy. I'll say more about what I do, but maybe for now I can just say that I've worked on the intersection between private sector and aid for 15 years in Denmark, and for 4 years in Burkina Faso and West Africa. Then in Copenhagen at our ministry with various programs related to that. I have few DMDP, some of you will know these things. And now I'm practically doing the same thing here in Uganda together with a team of 6 people at the Danish Embassy. I think that's all. Then I'm super glad to have one of our core partners here in Uganda with us, which is John from the Agricultural Business Initiative. John, maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Thank you, Ole. My name is John Wakiumu, the CEO of A2i Development Ltd. A2i stands for Agribusiness Initiative. And A2i is a social enterprise here in Uganda working to build the capacity of farmers and agribusinesses so that they can be able to grow their businesses and also to access financing. I'll speak a little bit more about A2i and our partnership with Danish companies later on in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. And I assume then, Ole, I should put on the presentation from here.
Yes, that would be great. I should say that John has a lot of experiences to share and a lot of experience in general. John joined us and ABI only in August. So I think I see this also as a way to explore some new avenues, but for that we don't expect John to know everything A2i has done for the last 10 years. Okay, so yes, you can just turn the slides, and apologies to everybody that I have to tell Jakob to do that, but that's how technology works with us today.
It's my honor.
We did some presentations. I want to say a little bit more about the purpose of this talk. I think, as I can see from the participants here, it's very clear that we will have room for discussion. So that's basically up to me and John leave room for discussion, but that's also very much what we expect. We are not here to present you with, ambitious new grant programs of ambitious new funding for Danish companies. We are here because we believe that there are synergies in what we are already doing that has not been explored. That's basically the purpose. And we want to talk about the possibilities that are already there. Some of them you probably already know. And then we want to talk about, what we are doing. And then we want to explore synergies for that. It is a very timely time to do that now. It's a very good time to do that now because Denmark is just planning its next intervention in Uganda. They run for 5 years, so this is a good time to discuss, how can we design those interventions so that we get the best possibilities for synergies in the future. Then I will take this opportunity to advertise our business delegation in April 2023. I think we have a special photo for that. If you would take the next slide, Jacob.
Sorry, I'm just struggling here. There we go.
Yeah, I gave you a very complicated task.
Yeah.
In June 2023, we are organizing a business delegation together with the Danish Agriculture Food Council. Access to Innovation is also doing some of these delegations, and they will also be involved in this delegation. So I will just encourage all of you to, find this website. I can send you the link after and distribute to your networks. We hope to get as many signups as possible. We are introducing something new for this business delegation, which is an early bird advantage. Our experience is that preparation is super important. So if you sign up before February 1st, then we shall give you special attention and prepare particularly for your business. So that was it for advertisement. Then let's get to the actual talk. Next slide, please. Many of you have probably visited. Those of you who haven't, this is Uganda. I mean, Uganda is a good place to do agribusiness. I think the headline for our delegation should maybe also be the headline for this talk. Uganda is really open for business, and there are a number of reasons for that I'll just touch briefly upon. We should not shy away from the negative sides. As you can see on the map, Uganda is landlocked. Also, Uganda does have some challenges, well-known challenges, I guess, on infrastructure and electricity. That said, there are a number of key advantages to Uganda. Agriculture definitely is a key advantage. So Uganda has 2 rainy seasons in most of the country. If I could turn the camera and show you outside, it is completely green. If you look at entire East Africa, almost 50% of the arable land of entire East Africa is in Uganda. We do have droughts in the very, very northeast, but actually not a lot. If you compare to Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia, who have large droughts with regular intervals, then Uganda also has droughts, so we shouldn't, but much less so. Also, Uganda is very stable. The political system is quite stable. We just had an election in 2021. And I just talked to a very large business last week with 2,000 employees, a German-owned business operating here. And I asked them, what's your interaction with the public system and the government? And they said, well, we follow the rules. We don't have any problems. So I think the framework conditions are quite okay. Yes, I think that's what I'll say generally for Uganda. I can put in more when we get to the discussion. Please, the next slide. Then this is the status of our efforts to combine aid and trade and what we already do. So the team I'm heading at the Danish Embassy, Team Green Economy, we do basically 2 things. So we administer Danish development aid, and then we help Danish companies. So I just want to highlight that we help Danish companies. We are super eager to do so. It's under what we call the Trade Council as our global brand to help Danish companies. And just some very specific examples. Just 1 month ago, Jakob was here for the Uganda EU Business Forum. I'm happy to report that, at least to us, that was a major success. We had a lot of visits. Jakob can speak more to that afterwards, to the stand, the joint stand that we had at that business forum, and we made a lot of new contacts with Danish businesses, but also we established a lot of contacts between Danish businesses and Ugandan businesses. I think you said at one point, Jakob, that you came home with 10 specific requests for products from Danish businesses. So I think that was quite nice. Then there are the business delegations. I advertised the one in April. We had one in September 2021. Those are usually not super large, but quite intense, and we try to do our best to find customers, so to focus on basically deals. I've had more than one report of the businesses who visited us who actually had orders, so we think that's quite nice too. And then we have a lot of other assignments we do for Danish businesses. This work is under our pay for service scheme, so there's a fee. Currently, it's 880 Danish kroner per hour. It's insanely cheap compared to the value you get, of course. So that's what we do on trade. Then there's the other part where we try to combine aid and trade through our development aid. So basically, the 17 billion Danish kroner every year allocated to social and economic development in developing countries. And here are some of the instruments. Some of you may know one or more of them. There is the Danida Market Development Program, which is now called the Danida Green Development Partnerships. All of these that I've mentioned here are global programs, but so they come to Uganda whenever businesses and NGOs apply for them with Uganda as their focus country. We currently have 35 million of the DMDP program spent in Uganda. There's a program called P4G, which is also active. It is we don't have any projects in Uganda currently now. There's a program specifically only for Danish companies. The two first I mentioned are for all international companies, but the Danida Innovation and Business Explorer is not very well known, but I think it should be more well known because it's quite one of our least bureaucratic programs, if you will. But we have only one project per year here in Uganda. You can Google it and then you'll find our global website on that. Then there is DSIF. I should not have put the abbreviation. It's the Danida Sustainable Infrastructure Finance. Very, very large projects of 500 million Danish kroner coming up one every 10 years. But they are linked to Danish companies. We have one project in Uganda on water. I'm happy to talk more about that if you want. But that was sort of the status of what we do for Danish companies, and then how in various aid programs we try to create synergies. Then I think we should take the next slide. I want to start with why it's a good idea. So here are the challenges, but let me first say, why I think we should work more on this, combining aid and trade. Basically, I think there are some joint synergies still to be harvested. So the programs I showed that global programs we're already doing, are capturing a lot of those synergies, but we have so much more going on, and I think there are many more synergies to be captured. Okay, let me talk about the challenges first, and then the opportunities after. I already said a little bit about Uganda. I said some good things. There are some bad things, and we should not forego those. We should mention them. Some of our aid is super relevant to trade and to Danish companies. Some of it is not. We just have to put it there. We support civil society. We support refugees. We spend 300 million Danish kroner to support refugees in northern Uganda. A fantastic program, not super relevant to Danish businesses. So just to say that that's how it is. Then aid comes with some restrictions. We cannot make tied aid in the programs we have at the embassy, which means we cannot say this pot of money is for Danish companies. So that's our restriction. Then we have a bureaucracy, an aid bureaucracy, because when we spend a lot of Danish taxpayer money, we have to follow certain rules. Oh, you have to go back one slide. Thank you. We also, in order with aid, we want to basically change the society, and that takes a long time. So for that reason, we have quite long time perspectives. We plan in 5-year cycles. And as I said in the beginning, that's actually a reason why this talk is timely, because we are just now planning our next cycle. So now is the time to affect Danish aid for the next 5 years. Then there's the fifth part. Some people involved in aid may not think too much about business. Of course, that is not the case in Uganda, but that may be the case somewhere else. Okay, let's move to the opportunities. Now I got you all depressed. I'll see if I can get us cheered up again. So one key opportunity here is that our aid budget is so large. In Uganda, it's 120 million Danish kroner every year. And then I've only factored in the aid money we use for agriculture. So this doesn't include civil society and all the other stuff we do. So to me, that's just a great opportunity. You have the Danish public sector spending this money. There must be opportunities to at least exploit all the synergies we can find. Another opportunity is that, you know, all of this comes from the Danish government, right? And as you have probably seen, the priorities that are guiding, for example, the support to private sector development in Denmark through agencies like Innovationsfonden and Vækstfonden and the decentralized system to promote businesses have some of the same priorities because they come from the same government. And if I should sum that up, you know, I can sum it up with these 3 priorities, which is green, green, and green. That's basically how we can sum that up. And that's an advantage because it means we talk about some of the same things. Thirdly, just in Uganda, one large advantage is a lot of this aid that we are spending is spent in agriculture, which is super relevant for Danish businesses. A relatively large share of it is even spent on companies that are using technology. We know that Danish companies are usually quite high on technology, so that adds to the synergies. The fourth advantage, there's a large Danish embassy in Uganda, and the trade council that I was talking about, where we support Danish company, is not just a few people, that's the entire embassy. So it's 25 people. We cannot mobilize all of them, but we can definitely mobilize the ambassador and a large part of our team. So that just means we have boots on the ground. Then the long time spans that are usually a disadvantage to us, I think also is an opportunity because it does give us some predictability. When we have decided what to do, that is what we will do for the next 4 and 5 years. So it means that we can have a discussion, and then it can be over a longer time period. Then I already said some of the good things about Uganda. Let me just repeat some of them. Apart from what I already said, the middle class is on the increase. We had poultry in our last business delegation as one of the area. It's exploding because it's cheap protein. We have tons of farms and that are doing that and processing of it too. Some of the sectors apart from poultry would be horticulture and dairy, where we see large growth. Uganda has the lowest raw milk price in all of East Africa. So that's why I put that on there. And there's much more to be said about that. Okay, I think I have only, oh, now you're going. I have, as if I remember correctly, only this slide left, just to give you a little bit of impression of when I say that we have a large aid budget and we do a lot of activities, what is it exactly we are doing, just so you know. It's these 3 programs that I mentioned here. Northern Uganda Resilience Initiative. It's a refugee program with 350 employees, 250 on motorbikes. I'm saying that to explain why we think it's super effective. It's those 250 people on motorbikes that basically goes to farmers in Northern Uganda to increase their agricultural productivity. Very small subsistence farms usually, but with quite large success. We do it to increase the capacity of Northern Uganda to absorb refugees. We also build local roads and work on water resource management. That's a minor detail. Then we have ABI. You'll hear much more about that later, but that's our key program in commercial agriculture. I know that, John will give you a different figure of employees later, but this is because I include ABI Finance, which is the sister organization of ABI Development. They basically re-grant. We give them a very large grant, and they re-grant to agribusinesses and to other organizations in agriculture to have more integrated supply chains and to grow. Then the last one is Trademark East Africa, reducing non-tariff barriers to trade. Our partnership with them means that we have very good contact to almost any organization in Uganda working on standards and customs and things like that. So that's also, I think, a little bit relevant. Okay. Then I should mention that those three programs are our current interventions. We are, while we are talking, as I've said a few times, working on our next 5-year program. It will not be the exact same as before, but it will also not be completely different. We know the priorities, they come from the strategy some years back. And what is relevant for this talk, I think, is that climate change and the green objectives is one very key part of it. Climate change adaptation, not the least. The process of that, I can tell you a little bit, is that we are currently working on the new strategic framework, very overall policy document. The new government that is under formation will have to consider and approve such a strategic framework for Uganda. And then we shall start programming of the actual activities, and we expect that to be ready in 2023. That was what I had to say about that. And that was actually the end of my talk. I'm happy to report that I didn't use all the time, and then pass the word to ABI.
Over to you, John. You just need to unmute, please.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, Jacob. And thank you very much, Ole. My presentation today is actually in there are 3 parts. I'm going to talk a little bit about ABI development. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the partnerships we have with Danish businesses. And then I'm going to provide a little bit more information about one of our implementing partners. ABI Development was actually founded in 2010 as ABI Trust, founded by the governments of Denmark and Uganda, with funding from the Royal Danish Embassy. Most of the funding comes from RDE. Other funders including the EU, USAID, and CEDA. In 2021, ABI Trust was split into 2. ABI Development, which focuses on capacity building of farmers and agribusinesses, and ABI Finance, which provides lines of credit and credit guarantees to financial institutions. Next slide, please.
Yes, please.
So ABI Development's focus really is to break down the structural bottlenecks that impede the flow of credit and also prevents farmers and agribusinesses from growing. I think the challenges in African agriculture are very well known and quite significant, and they need to be addressed in a systematic way for the private sector engagement to actually take off. Currently, ABI Development, we have 47 staff, and there are 13 staff on the ABI Finance side. ABI's focus in 2023 is going to be green, with them at least 80% of its investments going into green growth. In 2023, we expect to invest up to 26 billion Uganda shillings in green investments. Next slide, please. This is the warehouse of one of our partners, ACPCU, that I will talk about a bit later in the program. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, partnerships between Abi Development Limited and Danish businesses. We have a number of engagements with Danish businesses, but the major one is actually with Cimbria, which is a Danish company that provides all the equipment for the Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union, or SCPCU, which includes 4 halas and also 4 silos. There's also ongoing discussions with Coma Cafe, looking to source from cooperatives here in Uganda. We've put them in touch with SCPCU to take that discussion forward. And there's another partnership with the African Green Technologies Facility, which is an impact investing fund here that is looking for blended finance facilities for one of their investee companies. The Nordic Impact Fund is looking to invest in that agribusiness through AGTF. And we are looking to provide some grant money to be able to combine with their impact investing funds to be able to get that particular investee company funded. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is also from SCPCU. Next, yeah, thank you. So SCPCU is a key implementing partner for ABI development. We have had this partnership since 2023, and SCPCU was founded in 2006. At the time, it had 10 cooperatives, but now the number of cooperatives have increased to 25 with 8,200 members. ABI's contribution to this partnership was a grant of 8.9 billion shillings, which was used to help establish 4 high-quality hulling plants and procurement and installation of 4 silos with a total capacity of 1,600 metric tons. So this is one of our major partners, and we work with at least 29 other implementing partners as well. So we're looking also to work with a lot more Danish businesses because we believe that the scope for collaboration is quite significant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'll just take off the presentation. And I think very timely, it's 10, so we now got about 15 minutes for questions from the audience. Just to be clear, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat, or otherwise raise the hand. You can see there's a reaction button down in the bottom of the screen, and you can. I'll try to do my best to navigate us through the conversation here. But perhaps just to get the discussion going, I mean, you're talking about green, green, and green. But I also know that green is not only green. There's a number of different colors. So perhaps Ole and John, could you explain us a bit more? What do you mean by green?
Ole, you want to go first?
Yes, certainly. I think you are very right, Jakob. We can say that there are many shades of green. And I think that there are many shades of green in the sense that, you know, we cannot expect all production and all job creation to be the same level of dark green. So I think if you have opportunities or ideas that you can't see that they are green, you know, let's have a look at it. Then you also ask, what do we mean by green? We like to put green into 3 boxes that are quite different. The first box is the most well-known box, which is the mitigation box. Can you reduce energy, fossil fuel use, so renewable energies, energy efficiency, those things, then it will count as green. That's super relevant, but it is the least relevant of the 3 boxes because 80% of the electricity in Uganda comes from hydro. So it's a very green country in that regard. The second box is adaptation, super relevant. All kinds of productivity in agriculture is set to go down. The poultry I talked about is has major issues already because chicken are very sensitive to heat. So there's a lot of things in actually adapting the agricultural value chains to increasing temperatures and extreme weather events that will count 100% as green. And as you can appreciate, what is adaptation may or may not be mitigation, but it's green regardless. Then the third box is environment. If you can reduce waste in the local environment, increase biodiversity, those type of things, then it also counts as green.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. John, do you want to add in?
Yeah, maybe just to add on that is we as Abi Development have just launched a Green Challenge Fund that is going to form the bulk of our investments in 2023. And we are considering companies in both the incubation, ideation, and the growth stage. So it's going to be very vast in terms of the kind of companies we're going to consider, but along the lines of what Ole has described.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think it's quite clear that we're crystal clear on what we mean also to navigate in terms of what partnerships that you're searching for also in the coming years. Then I see there's a question from Professor Arne Rem from Aalborg University. Arne?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for some nice presentation, a good overview. I was thinking in this discussion of different shades of green, if you are considering, because you talk a lot about agribusiness, but there is for sure a connection both to energy and to water and so on. So how do you see this? Normally we talk in academic connections about the nexus of these things, that they are closely connected. And that's perhaps a challenge for Danida in the sense of being used for sector programs. Any consideration in this regard, perhaps especially Ole?
Yes, certainly, Arne. I think thank you for the question, and I think you actually made the analysis also, which I think is correct. That one, they are interconnected, right? The world has connected them for us. So if we make silos where we try to separate them, the blame is on us. Certainly, definitely. And so I can just say that we do our level best to try to put them together. There's no restriction on Abi Development to say that they cannot work on water. If they work too much on drinking water, we shall come after them. But you know, productive use water is a large area, right? I should also mention that this program called Danida Sustainable Infrastructure Finance, where we have one project currently in Uganda, the one project we have is in drinking water. So you're right, that's maybe also a silo, but when it comes to Danish businesses, it does mean that we have very strong connections to the National Water and Sewage Corporation, for example, who's implementing that, because they will receive this project, which has a grant value of 600 million Danish kroner. So we are in all areas. We think it's relevant for Danish businesses, and we do the best we can to make them work together.
Thank you. Continuing on the green note, I just want to make sure that we got this covered. I see Gitte Dyrhagen Husager from Danchurch 8 that you put in a comment. Perhaps, Gitte, you just want to elaborate a bit more on your input?
Yes, thank you, Jakob and Ole and everyone. I can do that. I can also switch on my camera. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the insights, and from DCA, of course, Folkekirken. For those of us who know us in Danish, we work a lot with businesses on this agenda, and I'm a proud member of Access to Innovation, and in close dialogue, of course, with you, Ole, and now also with Abi Trust and Finance. And I think a barrier we see to investments in climate adaptation is, first of all, probably a need for more awareness, including myself. What does private solutions and investments in adaptation mean? So that's why we did a study on this, and what are the risks and challenges to more investments. So maybe also an invitation. It could be a very interesting actually meeting to dive into this, because we actually had difficulties identifying Danish companies that themselves saw their solutions as being adaptation solutions. But I think as we unfold the solutions there, I think we get a better understanding also on adapting agricultural practices to climate changes. So just an invitation, and maybe also a dialogue more also with A2i Finance would be very interesting to see how can we support these investments even more, because I guess we have targets and numbers we have to live up to.
Thank you for that, Gitte. And just a cliffhanger, I think we also invited Gitte to present some of the findings also in the A2i Talk coming up in January. But I assume even there's interest beforehand in diving into that, Gitte, she's also able to take that conversation on. Now I see there's also a question from Omar Hussain from Come Cafe.
Yep. So we just recently, a month ago, came back from Uganda on our first trip, visiting coffee farms there. And in terms of the green focus that there is being set on the agenda now, we were wondering as well, in Denmark, green is also associated with organic production in agriculture. Is that a focal point as well in what's to come in 2023 to create more organic smallhold farmers? Because as we saw, a lot of the production there is basically organically produced. But the certification process is something that seems much more intricate. Is that something that will be focused on, perhaps?
Thank you. Yes, John. Actually, I wanted to give you the floor if you want to.
Okay, thank you, Ole.
Or
yeah.
I can also, up to you. But I know that you have some engagement in organic production, and I think they are super interesting. So that's why I want to give you the.
Yes, we actually have quite a number of engagements on organic production and also looking at certification. It is indeed a major issue in Uganda, and it is something we are going to focus on in the projects that we're evaluating for the Green Challenge Fund.
Thank you, John. That was a very brief answer, but I can maybe expand with some of the more overall. So definitely, organic production speaks to a lot of the things that we are looking for, right? So let me just mention two things. On climate change adaptation, soil is just super important. I know it's a geeky thing to talk about in this forum, maybe, but floods that are washing away soil is a major problem, and organic matter in the soil is just a great thing to have if you don't want your soil to be washed away. So organic matter speaks to that. So it clearly speaks to climate change adaptation. Also, there's been large global initiatives on carbon storage in soil. So there's also a mitigation story to it. But if we just stick to our favorite, which is adaptation, then soil is important, and organic production speaks to that. The other thing we are super obsessed with is to increase productivity and income for smallholder farmers. And I'm happy to report that in a number of instances, organic commercial organic production also speaks to that. And the explanation is a tiny bit complicated, because I think in Uganda there will also be trade-offs. I think so. It was mentioned in the chat that they have problems with certification, and that's just so super expensive. So there you have a trade-off right up, right? Also, there is a reason why you use pesticides and fertilizers, because usually it gets your production up. But these instances where we have found there's actually a synergy is where the exporter or the processor on sesame, on cotton, on sunflower holds the certificate and fronts the bill for certification, and then pays a premium to the smallholder farmer, and crucially trains the smallholder farmer on organic production, of course, but actually with it also just on effective agricultural production in general. So with that, you can actually have some of these organic production systems solve, the holy grail for us, which is how can we find a sustainable financing model for smallholder farmers and their increase in capacity and skills. That's really the holy grail for us. And strangely, we see that happening sometimes in organic farming. So that means that going forward, I don't see that we will say, yes, you have to do organic farming, but definitely it's something that we think is interesting when it combines those two elements of climate adaptation and increased productivity. And these examples come exactly from John's business and the partnerships he has.
Thank you, Ole. Now, time is running fast, but nevertheless, I've got one question, because if I know the audience right, they've seen the figure of 120 million. They've noted also the support that you're able to provide from the embassy, and also the financing vehicles from A2i. But being, let's say, a Danish company that wants to engage, what would be the steps from here? I could say from Access to Innovation, we are of course in close dialogue with both the A2i and the embassy to see how we can tie up linkages back to the Danish innovation system, among us, together with hopefully also food and bioclusters and some of the other strength positions. But if you're a company on NGO, how do you get involved in this discussion? I mean, there seems to be a promising potential, but what should they do from here?
Yes, I guess that one is for me. Thank you very much, Jakob, and I'm happy that you are giving me this opportunity to end the talk where we started it, which is come join us. Join our business delegation in 2023. We would be super happy to have that business delegation be a combined aid and trade business delegation. Of course, there's a fee involved, but it's heavily subsidized. Also, you get our work almost for free. So that is number one thing I can say. The second thing, if you have already some of your technology that you think may be relevant for Uganda, we should be more than happy under our trade council arrangement. And also, you know, we always pick up the phone. We never say no to meetings. We should be more than happy to discuss with you. In general, for Danish businesses, I can maybe say a little bit about what we are thinking. We are basically thinking to increase the dialogue. To make sure that we know what are the key things going on in the food and biocluster now they have left, and in some Danish technologies, and the other way around. John, I know John and the embassy together is working on a study, a catalog of 15 of John's partners and maybe other companies to clarify what is their technology readiness and technology need, and what is their export readiness and export potentials. And we want to use that to communicate the other way, to basically to you, and to increase that dialogue. When it comes to specific formats for dialogue and that type of things, then I imagine that organizations like yours, Jakob, Access to Innovation, and the Confederation of Danish Industries, the Danish Agricultural Food Council, and the Dansk Erhverv will be the most likely points of contact for us. Of course, we cannot have discussions on this with all NGOs and all companies, but that's how I see it going forward.
Thank you so much, and I also note the invitation for continuing the dialogue. And perhaps I should just mention from our side, I mean, of course, we'll continue the dialogue with the embassies. What we're also focusing at from Access to Innovation these days is actually what we call building up the innovation system. Because as you see, there's a lot of potential in teaming up and linking up to the trade programs and development aid programs in Uganda. But lesson learned is also that we need the financing to get going. That's not a part of necessarily the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Here we're looking into the innovation system in Denmark. So we're working closely together with the Food Biocluster, Energy Cluster Denmark, Made, Clean, and so forth, in order to secure the funding that's often needed for at least private sector to develop their solutions with the researchers and civil society. Final take from my side would be in terms of the Danida Innovation and Business Explorer that Ole is also pointing out. We got 8 projects on the way from our side, and for those of you who have an interest stepping into that game, please feel free to reach out as we'll do our best to support. So I hope also from the side of Access to Innovation that we can be a part of this conversation and moving forward. I think we can all agree there's a big potential. The big question is how to. But nevertheless, if we're able to join forces and share the resources and competences and so forth, at least also our history shows that we're able to cross the divide also between aid and trade. So, Ole Dahl Rasmussen from the Danish Embassy, John Wakiumu from the Abbey, thank you so much for taking your time to present here today. I'm quite sure that it also brought in some new insights, and we'll continue the dialogue from here. And for the rest of the audience, thank you so much for joining in. As you know, we are doing this on a monthly basis, and so we'll keep you updated on the next coming talks. Then from our side, I only hope to see you soon, also here in Aalborg, where, as you just briefly mentioned, that on the 19th of December, we are together with Food and Biocluster and 1/3 launching an analysis on business opportunities within the food loss, food waste, especially in East Africa, and also opening a number of other workshops that should be open to the audience here today. So please stay tuned to what our communication from our side. And then again, once again, thank you to all of you, and enjoy the weekend.